Welcome to another edition of Candid Conversation, where we discuss topical issues related to agriculture and rural communities. I'm Tim Thornberry, editor of the Kentucky Farm Bureau News, and we're coming to you today from our KFB studios in Louisville. And our guest today is State 4-H President Landry Woodrum. Landry, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Mr. Thornberry.
Before we get started and talk about some issues and some things that are going on with 4-H right now, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
It's always the toughest question in an interview. You think you know who you are until somebody asks you about it. But
I understand.
My name's Landry Woodrum. I'm from Boyle County, Kentucky. I also live in Casey County with my dad. We have a farm down there. I'm a freshman at the University of Kentucky. I'm majoring in agriculture, economics specifically. I've been in 4-H since I was 5 years old, have a passion for the organization, and so I'm here today in this capacity.
Landry, I will tell you, I was a 4-H'er myself in school, so I remember I learned how to judge dairy cattle.
Really?
In
Dairy judging.
4-H. So I remember it well. It was so much fun, and I learned a lot. Tell me a little bit about your experience in 4-H so far.
Well, my first experiences in 4-H were not voluntary. My mother got the job as the Boyle County 4-H agent when I was 3, I think. Of course, I can't remember, but she took me to club meetings and 4-H camp specifically for a while before I could even talk. But I fell in love with it in my own right at the age of 9 when I went to camp for the first time as a camper. So I was away from mom. I was doing my own thing. Climbing the rock wall, canoeing, all that stuff. So 4-H camp was where I really fell in love with the organization. As a junior member, so like 11 and below, thereabouts, I was in an entrepreneurship club, and I sold PVC pipe marshmallow guns at craft fairs. I was the bane of every craft fair in the state of Kentucky because I'd sell these.
That's where those things
came
from.
The marshmallow guns, I would sell them to these kids. I'd give them marshmallows too, so the carpet at all these convention centers would be ground down with marshmallows. But I learned how to manage my money there, and I also kind of fed my Lego habit with my PVC pipe marshmallow gun sales. But as a senior member, when I started to get older, I began to participate in leadership stuff. So I went to State Teen Summit, which is the leadership conference for middle schoolers 4-H puts on for the first time in 7th grade, and I just fell in love. The atmosphere at 4-H leadership functions is fantastic. Everybody's extremely supportive. You learn to develop as a leader and a communicator. I went on through high school to serve as an officer in the county at Boyle County and a district officer, which is about 20 counties, and then now as a state officer. I was on a national conference planning committee for the southern region and a couple other planning committees. It was an incredible experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
You know, you spoke about your connection to agriculture and your background in that, but 4-H really is much more than that. So many students now are involved in 4-H and student organizations like it that don't come from a farming background, and I'm sure that you've seen a lot of that through the years.
Yes, sir. Of course. Even I didn't participate in any agricultural projects in 4-H. I did some judging once or twice when I was young, but agriculture was never my 4-H experience. I got all that through FFA in high school. But 4-H offers 7 program areas in at least Kentucky, and agriculture is one of those 7. So it's an extremely important part of our program, and of course it's historical. 4-H has been the youth organization for rural communities for a long time, because it's based out of extension offices, UK extension offices. So it never had a big presence in cities. So if you're trying to help rural youth develop, you have to focus on their interests. So for the longest time, that was agriculture, it was family and consumer sciences, it was conservation, and of course, leadership and public speaking. But now, the 21st century, many rural communities have growing populations. So we've brought in science, technology, engineering, and math, and other program areas to bring 4-H into the 21st century. But that does not mean that agriculture is not an integral part of our program, which it is.
Absolutely. You spoke of leadership, having had the opportunity to work with several of our student organizations through the years. Leadership skills are very important and so often at the heart of those organizations. Those skills are really, I would assume, have come in handy so far and will be something with you throughout your future.
Yes, sir, they sure are. 4-H teaches, as somebody that's participated in lots of different youth development organizations. I did YMCA activities in high school. I was in FFA, my chapter president my senior year, and a regional officer. 4-H teaches a unique leadership style, and that's coming from somebody that's participated in 3 or 4 organizations that teach it. Because of the, I wouldn't call it hectic, but very energetic atmosphere at 4-H events, people are excited. They want to be there. The style of leadership we teach is very good at teaching youth to be capable to lead on a dime, any circumstance. And I've felt the product of that, after having participated for so long. Impromptu leadership, being able to step up at a moment's notice, organize people, help people, is the style of 4-H, leadership 4-H teaches. So I think that's unique after having participated in so many different ones.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Landry, we can't have a discussion these days without saying 2020 came along, and so did COVID-19. And it really has changed so much the way we go to school, the way we go to work, the way we do everything. Talk to me a little bit about how that has changed activities with 4-H.
So, since 4-H is based off of extension offices, we have 120 in the state of Kentucky. Every 4-H agent or extension agent responsible for administering 4-H responded differently. Now, I can speak as to my mother and quite a few agents in central Kentucky. They prepared take-home kits for younger children with different crafts and projects that they could work on, because after about a week of having their children in the household, I think a lot of parents were like, oh my goodness, we need to get these kids something to do. So they would scour Facebook, and lo and behold, Boyle County Extension Service, take-home kit for you to have your kid make a birdhouse, do a STEM activity, something entertaining and educational to supplement their Zoom education from their public school system. So take-home kits for younger kids. A lot of organizations that I was involved in, the State Teen Council, which is kind of 4-H's legislature, met via Zoom, and we had business meetings like normal. That's one thing. We had our first State Teen Council meeting of this year recently, and doing parliamentary procedure over Zoom is a lot harder than I thought it would be. So we're going to have some kinks to work out for our December meeting. But older members gathered online and in socially distant atmosphere to continue on doing service projects, continue on electing officers, holding meetings. Like I mentioned earlier, that ability to think and respond on a dime, critical thinking that I think 4-H teaches in its style of leadership, came in especially handy during COVID-19. I think our young people responded very well, and we're just cooking along like normal.
Now, you folks also had to host your 4-H Emerald Gala online.
Yes, sir.
How was that? How did that turn out?
Now, the Emerald Gala is not my responsibility. This past year it wasn't. That was the last state officer team. But from everything I heard from Ms. Miller and everybody else, it went well. We reached new audiences that we never hit before. We had new donors and supporters that had never been involved. And because it was online, it was very accessible. So we had a lot more involvement than normal. So I think it went really well, Mr. Thornberry.
Do you think that, as difficult as these last several months have been, do you think it's fair to say that it has also created some opportunities? For instance, maybe students attending activities or meetings that maybe they otherwise would not have done. Do you think that that there's a little bit of a silver lining there?
Not a little bit. There's a whole lot of silver lining, Mr. Thornberry. So at the beginning of COVID, we decided we wanted to up our social media presence. We got a new foundation intern, good friend of mine, Mary Kate Miller. She's a wizard with social media. And then, of course, our new state officer team and the other people at the state office got together and thought, okay, we're going to massively expand our social media influence. We started a series of online videos posted to Facebook, YouTube, so on, called Kentucky 4-H Virtual Experience. I actually taught 2 lessons. They're all educational, see. So a young person that has a lot of experience in, say, crochet, that's an example of a 4-H project, might get on and teach how to crochet. An agent that has experience with baking might get on and do a bake-along. That's been our most popular one so far. The Jessamine County 4-H agent, she's been doing bake-alongs where she cooks and she gets hundreds of people on those streams at once. I taught a lesson on parliamentary procedure and farm equipment safety. So that virtual experience has expanded our presence. We're hitting new families that have never been involved in 4-H. They're just, again, looking for something for their kids to do while they're stuck in the house. So there's not a little bit of a silver lining, Mr. Thornberry. 4-H is booming. This is a record year for us.
Do you think that a lot of parents are sneaking in the room and learning things from 4-H? Maybe they didn't participate when they were younger, but by having their children involved, they're also involved. You mentioned families coming to 4-H now. I think the parents are getting as much out of this as the youngsters.
Well, I think so, Mr. Thornberry. You know, historically, that's always been the case with 4-H. The Extension Service used 4-H as a method of getting more efficient agricultural techniques to trickle down to the next generation. Young men would be part of a corn club, which was the first kind of 4-H club. They'd learn modern techniques, no-till, stuff like that, and their dad would look at their yield and be like, wow, that's really impressive. And that is still happening to this day, even if it is with, learning how to make a birdhouse or learning the basics of coding. I have no doubt that families are peeking in, looking, and thinking, that's pretty cool, and then maybe doing a little bit of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Landry, it's easy to see that you are a very strong advocate for 4-H. What do you tell young people that, are just coming to the organization or thinking about it? What do you tell them about it?
Well, 4-H has a place for everybody. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 7 program areas. So I'll give you an example. My county teen council, which is our high school club of sorts with all of the senior members, we had guys on the football team. We had people that were part of speech and debate. We had ag kids that were involved in FFA. And we had kids that weren't a part of any other club. And no matter what you do or what you enjoy, I assure you, 4-H has a project or a program that will interest you. And if nothing else, the infectious positivity and energy at 4-H events will make you fall in love with it. Now, I hope everybody will see that, but I know it's not for everyone. But 4-H is unique in that it's so broad spectrum. A lot of youth organizations focus on a specific thing: speech and debate, FFA, FCCLA, FBLA. All of those are maybe career and technical organizations or focused on a specific contest or set of contests. 4-H is very broad. So if you're heavily involved in one of those career and technical organizations, 4-H is an excellent supplement for leadership and communication. FFA and 4-H were well meshed together in Boyle County. Both my president, I was the president, my vice president was also very involved in 4-H in Boyle County. So it's got a spot for you, I assure you, whether you're 9 to 18. And if you're older than that or younger than that, we've got a spot for you. Clover Buds for 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds and 8. And then, of course, we always need more adult volunteers. So if you want to get involved, we'd appreciate it. Go to your local extension office, sign up.
Well, Landry, you've convinced me already.
Excellent, of course.
I'm ready to get my Clover out again and
you can have mine.
And become involved. What about your future? Obviously, 4-H will be with you forever. How has this shaped what your next steps will be, do you think?
Point one. I'll give it like a classic 4-H speech. I'll give you 3 points. Point 1, 4-H gave me my friends, my closest friends. Since I was 9 and up, the people that I met at 4-H events, I think it was the common goal of wanting to be there and have fun and learn something, gave me a group of similarly motivated and energetic youth that I can call my best friends to this day. I'm living with a bunch of them in college now, and it's incredible. Of course, we've scattered, but they're still my best friends. 4-H helped me identify my skill set, so I know that I am good at 2 things mainly: leadership and communication. That's where my abilities lie. It's probably because I haven't been able to shut up since I came out of the womb. I love to talk. I'm very extroverted. And that applied itself in 4-H and helped me identify that that's what I'm good at. I've been giving speeches since I was 9 years old. So I know what I'm good at now because of 4-H. And that's helped me choose my major in college and what I want to get to career-wise. It also helped me identify that I have a passion for agriculture. Just working in 4-H and going on tours and meeting people helped me realize that this is the industry that I want to be involved in. Of course, I grew up on a farm, and I always had a baseline level of interest, but 4-H propelled that to where I want to farm when I get older. I got to go make some money first, but I want to farm when I get older. So it pushed me to go to UK, course, Teen Conference, 4-H's flagship event for high school members, is held at UK. So I got familiar with those dorms. They have Tempur-Pedic mattresses, and I sleep on one every night now. So it helped me fall in love with UK and the College of Agriculture. So now I'm there studying ag econ.
Well, you just spoke of you want to be on the farm.
Yes, sir.
In the future and everything. So often we may not equate some of the skills that we learn in a student organization such as this with what could it do for me on the farm? What can it do for Landry on the farm when you get to that point?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I was a member of that entrepreneurship club when I was very young. I have a knack for money management now just because of that. I learned those baseline skills, even if I did blow it all on Legos, to be honest. But I do know how to manage my money. I'm doing well financially, and I attribute that to 4-H. So I hope that those skills will translate over to farming. It is a financially stressful business, and I've known that since I was little, being around my dad and my brother. But also leadership. I mean, if I have employees, being able to effectively manage people and manage a workload. And of course, work ethic. I mean, I had to work for a lot in 4-H. Speeches, my club work, becoming a state officer, all of that taught me that you have to work harder than everybody else in order to succeed. So I hope that all of those will translate over to the farm. And also, let me say, an appreciation for natural beauty. I did a lot of conservation stuff at camp. I always took the nature class. I got to walk, and I learned to appreciate how beautiful God's creation is. And of course, I get that at the farm as well. We live in a beautiful place in Casey County. So.
And of course, you're going to be one of those 4-H volunteers.
Oh, yes, no doubt.
For the rest of your life, I'm sure.
My mother would tan my hide if I wasn't a 4-H volunteer.
Well, you've certainly represented our state wonderfully, Landry, and I'm sure the 4-H folks feel the same way.
I appreciate that.
As do the agriculture folks around the state. You've really done a good job, and we so appreciate you being here with us today to discuss 4-H and all the many things that are going on with that organization.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Thornberry. It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Candid Conversation, and please look to our other social media platforms, all of them, to view videos and other editions of this show. We appreciate it so much, and we look forward to seeing you again for our next Candid Conversation.